Most Nigerians will not like this video because some of us don't like truth, and it's normal for some of us not to like truth. It's part of human being when we are being created. The truth is that despite the banter between South African and Nigeria, I'm part of those that banter South Africa. But I can confidently tell you people that South Africans have finally wake up while Nigerians are still sleeping.
About what really went wrong, what are we really fighting about? So now the topic is the rivalry between South Africa and Nigeria.
Our countries. I mean, I cannot avoid this conversation on TikTok, especially because I avoid it, but I have followers who are deeply involved in this Nigeria versus South Africa conversation, and they always ask me, Kingsley, can you imagine what this South Africa is saying? Can you imagine what this South Africa is saying? I'm like, what? Okay, what is the South African saying? And it's always something to the variation of, oh, they're telling us to focus on Nigeria, they're telling us to go back to our country, they're telling us to do this. Okay.
One of the ways to truly know that the Nigerian problem has nothing to do with the Nigerian president or their governors or their men in authority is that even when Nigerians are in countries that have good economy, countries that give them opportunities, they just never fail to represent themselves. You see that criminality? They can never stop it.
One thing I know for sure that is certain is that no matter how long it takes, the truth must always prevail. The truth must always come to limelight. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode right here on the Stable of Life of an African Woman. And it is my pleasure to bring to your knowledge and understanding that gradually we are getting there, and the truth is definitely unwinding, that the message that my brother Chimdi and some other persons from the Nigerian community who think and act differently based on the fact that we understand our people as Nigerians, not all, some of them that would always stand on that part of always causing rivalry, causing disunity, rancor between us as countries in Africa, particularly Nigeria and South Africa. Guys, it's been a long time coming, and since I started talking, I actually have in mind that one day and soonest the message will be passed across. In this video I'm about to react to, guys, it's actually a video of a young man who have actually been on the path of always bantering South Africa, right? Exactly. Always trying to see how they can put themselves shoulder to shoulder with South Africa, talking down on South Africa. But today the good news is that this young man and his likes have begun to see a different perception and understanding about South Africa, and are now standing up to tell the truth to Nigerians and to fellow Nigerians like him. Exactly. This is definitely going to be one of the clip, and alongside a long-term question that everybody would want to ask: why the banter? Why Nigeria? Every time Nigeria, South Africa, Nigeria, South Africa. I would like us at the end of the day to take close look at this video, pay attention to details, I beg of you. And exactly at this point, for the sake of me, Tando, your girl, I oblige and kindly plead that you hit on the like button. It makes me happy, it makes me smile, right? Because this job we are doing is even tougher than the FBI, like the SAPs of South Africa. You will understand, this is our job. We know the heat we go through, we know the dragging, we know the insults, but in all, we stand firm for nothing but the truth. So help me, help us hit on the like button on here and subscribe to be a part of this family, because you don't know what is playing here. We are on a journey of what? Sanitizing, sanitizing the continent of Africa, uprooting the lies from the truth. Exactly. Sieving the bad eggs, exposing the lies, exposing the truth, just the way it is, raw and undiluted. So I will let these video clips play. I will not intercept. Then I would come back, drop my input, my opinion, as well as my brother Chimdi. So pay attention to details. Once again, like, share and subscribe. Let's take this.
Most Nigerians will not like this video because some of us don't like truth, and it's normal for some of us not to like truth. It's part of human being when we are being created. The truth is that despite the banter between South African and Nigeria, I'm part of those that banter South Africa. But I can confidently tell you people that South Africans have finally wake up while Nigerians are still sleeping. Like I said, a lot of you may not like this video, and it's normal for you not to like this video, but I'm here to speak fact. Here's the reason why I said South Africans have finally wake up while Nigerians are still sleeping despite the banter. South Africans have been bantering Nigerian forever, but in the middle of the banter, South Africans are still fixing their country. I don't mean the government. The individual South Africans are fighting for their country. And don't get me wrong, not fighting in the sense that attacking foreigners, the black people. No, They make demand from their government. Anything they don't like, they say it instantly. And recently, when Elon Musk want to misbehave, look at the protest they pull just because of Julius Malema. Now again, look at what is happening to the white people. Those same people we insult black South African with. Whites are now calling other country for help. Whites are now very scared in South Africa just because of the new policy from their government. And who make all this thing work is the fight that the black South African fought. But we Nigerians, we are bantling South African. Yes, I know it's South African that started it, and all of a sudden somebody like me and Ben, we start calling other Nigerians. And in the middle of calling Nigerian then, when the whole thing just started, when South Africans were trying to spoil Nigerian name, me and Ben and some group of people, we call on Nigerians then that let's stand up and fight against this thing that black South African want to do. They want to tarnish our name. Then a lot of you that are insulting South African now, you used to insult me and Ben for calling South African out then, because the whole thing is not affecting you then. Now when the whole thing is now affecting everybody, that is when you guys have wake up, want to insult South African back. The damage have been done. So if we stay on that banter forever and not discuss about what is going on in our country, we'll be the one to lose. Because South African banter us, but still, they still go back and fight their problem. But we Nigerians, we are bantering South Africa without fixing our own. There are a lot of issues like bandit, Fulani herdsmen that have been going on forever in Nigeria. And all what most of you do is to focus on South Africa. That's what makes me different from a lot of you Nigerians. Because in the middle of bantering South Africa, I still come out to talk about the problem of the nation. So if most of us Nigerians are doing that, we will have fixed 10% out of Nigerian problem. But all the youth of Nigeria now is banter South Africa, banter Cameroon, banter Ghana without looking back to their own problem. So Nigerians, I'm calling on you. It's good to banter, like I banter too, and I will not stop bantering. But please always try to look back on your problem while you are bantering. Like I said from the beginning of the video, a lot of you will not like it. And I'm not doing this video to please any of you guys. Anyway, share your thought on the comment section responsibly, and for those that like to cry responsibly on the comment section.
I mean, I have been asking the questions: how did this come about? Why did this come about? What really went wrong? What are we really fighting about? So now the topic is the rivalry between South Africa and Nigeria. Actually, a couple of days ago, I made a post about Nigerian needs prayers. If you have not seen that video, I've just put the link on here so you could look at the video. So basically, when I checked the comment section, I had a whole lot of South Africans in the comment section with so much to say, and that brought me to thinking and actually asking myself, what really caused the rivalry between South Africans and Nigerians? I mean, we have seen it in all social media platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, you know, even Instagram. We've seen all the rivalries happening, you know, brought to us live, right? So let's just I just want to dive into this topic and let's discuss what really happened, and also drop in the comment section of what you think caused this rivalry or how it started about. So growing up, I used to hear tales about South Africa and Nigerians, you know, the tales of fighting, the tales of them not getting along in the country, particularly in South Africa. And I was so scared of going to Cape Town. I mean, that was my dream, to go to Cape Town, because I've been hearing about Cape Town, how beautiful it is, and I've always wanted to go. But because of, like, you know, the scare, the talks and everything, I don't know if it's for everybody. For someone like me, yeah, whenever I hear things on social media, it kind of makes me scared, like, oh my goodness. But then, I mean, when I was researching this topic, I just realized how similar both countries are, how similar these two giants are. I feel like we are very similar. Both countries are very similar, but also very different. I mean, the most obvious similarity is the fact that we are all Africans first, right? So both South Africans, Nigerians, we are all under the umbrella of Africans first. So let's just dive right into the video and unpack actually what's really going on. And, you know, I also want to hear you guys, like, in the comment section, what you really think caused this rivalry, what you really think caused this threat, and if there's any solution in this year. I mean, this is a new year, so I'm thinking, can there be some sort of amending of, you know, the ties of the bond? You know, we're brothers, right? Can there be a cure or a means to resolve the fight between us South Africans and Nigerians? Okay. Right, so before we start pointing fingers and taking sides, you know, I know a lot of South Africans are watching my vlog, and a lot of Nigerians are also watching my vlog, but hold your peace. Let us look at what is the real cause of this rivalry. I'm going to take us back into memory lane, into the history books, and actually discuss what's happened in the past.
This is from a South African editorial called Nzingi. All right. And it says, in March 1960, 69 black people were massacred in Sharpeville, South Africa, by the white apartheid police. That same year, Nigeria successfully liberated itself from a 160-year British occupation. The new Nigerian leader, actually the new Nigeria's leaders' reaction to the Sharpeville massacre has changed everything in South Africa from then on. Here is a letter Nigeria's Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa sent to African National Congress ANC militants on April 4th, 1961. And it says, Sir, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Prime Minister, has directed me to thank you for your kind letter at this time and must let you know that the battle against apartheid has just begun. This was in 1961. Okay. Immediately after sending the letter, Sir Balewa lobbied for the effective expulsion of South Africa from the Commonwealth in 1961. Beyond political support, Sir Balewa was the first leader to provide a direct financial aid to the ANC from the early 1960s. At the height of the liberation movement in the 1970s, Nigeria alone provided $5 million annual subvention to the ANC and the Pan-African Congress annually. In 1976, Nigeria set up the Southern African Relief Fund, SAFR, destined to bring relief to the victims of the apartheid regime in South Africa, provide education opportunities to them, and promote general welfare. The military administration of General Obasanjo contributed $3.7 million to the fund. Moreover, General Obasanjo made a personal donation of $3,000, while each member of his cabinet also made personal contributions of $1,500 each. All Nigeria's civil servants and public officers made a 2% donation from their monthly salary to the SAFR. Students skipped their lunch to make donations, and just in 6 months, in June 1977, the popular contribution to the fund reached $10.5 million. The donations to the SAFR were widely known in Nigeria as the Mandela tax.
So, South Africa, as we all know, had a long, painful history in apartheid, which only ended in the early 90s. This struggle was about getting freedom, equality, and also justice. And this fight, actually, during this struggle, a lot of African countries supported South Africa, including Nigeria, mind you.
As a result of the fund's work, a first group of 86 South African students arrived in Nigeria in 1976, following the disruption of the education system in South Africa. It happened after the massacre of 700 students by the white police, while the former were protesting against the decision by the apartheid regime to change their education language to Afrikaans. Hundreds of South African students have benefited from the fund's activity, having come to study in Nigeria for free. Beyond welcoming students and exiles, Nigeria had also welcomed many renowned South Africans like Thabo Mbeki, former South African president from 1999 to 2008. He had spent 7 years in Nigeria from 1977 to 1984 before he left to ANC headquarters in Lusaka, Zambia. For South Africans who could not travel abroad because the apartheid regime had withdrawn their passports, Nigeria's government issued more than 300 passports. Along with fellow African countries, Nigeria lobbied for the creation of the United Nations Special Committee Against Apartheid and chaired it for 30 years. Longer than any other country. Between 1973 and 1978, Nigeria contributed $39,000 to the UN Education and Training Program for South Africa.
So guys, we all know that Nigeria also has had its own fair share of military dictatorship, as well as political environment. I mean, we've seen it in the history books from 1990s, literally since when Nigeria got its independence. We've seen it even till date. Okay, so basically Nigeria has had its own fair share of ups and downs. However, while South Africa was fighting apartheid, Nigeria was, on the other hand, battling with the military regime and a booming oil industry. I feel like these different parts created the gap in how both nations perceive each other. Okay, however, Nigeria's oil wealth, for instance, has placed it at the top of the economic powerhouses, while South Africa's diverse economy in mining, technology, and finance has made it a giant regionally. Let's move on to something that, is very close to our heart, the culture. We all know that South Africa and Nigeria have very diverse cultures that have just not been recognized in only Africa, but the entire world. I mean, we see it from Nollywood and Afrobeat in Nigeria, and Amapiano and Kwaito in South Africa. I hope I'm pronouncing that word right. We all know that Nollywood, which is Nigeria's film industry, is a booming film industry, might I add, and also Afrobeat, which has actually hits the top charts internationally with our artists like Davido, Burna Boy and Wizkid, who have literally broken global records. On the flip side, South Africa, a genre that is sweeping across the world. I mean, literally in nightclubs, in parties, we all hear Amapiano. Everyone is vibing to Amapiano, alright? However, South Africa has also given us amazing celebrities like Travis Noah, and let us not also forget the beauty of their South African movies as well as their theatre. So the big question here is, why do we keep comparing who is better, South Africa or Nigeria? Why do we do that? Does Nigeria's domination in Afrobeat make it a more influential country in terms of music? Or does South Africa's cultural exports give it a different kind of power? Because I'm trying to understand it. I actually think that this is where the rivalry can get a bit tricky. We can see that both countries are doing well on their own. Both countries have so much rich culture, music, rich language, rich things, right? However, when we keep seeing constant arguments on social media, constant bickering about whose music is better, whose artist is better, whose movie is, pop, it usually begs the question of, are we literally fueling an unnecessary rival? Are we fueling an unnecessary rivalry between these two countries?
International Monetary Fund forecasts show that South Africa is set to overtake Nigeria and Egypt as the continent's largest economy. The IMF says Nigeria's economy, which ranked as Africa's largest in 2022, is set to slip to 4th place this year, and Egypt, which held the top position last year, is projected to fall to 2nd to South Africa after a series of currency devaluations.
The World Economic Outlook of the International Monetary Fund says Nigeria is expected to remain in 4th place in coming years, while Egypt could reclaim the top position by 2027, but expects the South African economy to benefit from improvements to its energy supply and plans to tackle logistical bottlenecks. It estimates Nigeria's gross domestic product at $253 billion based on current prices this year, Egypt at $348 billion, and South Africa at $373 billion. Nigeria is dealing with many economic challenges which have been blamed for its slip in the economic ranking. A nearly 30-year high inflation rate of 33%, a weakening currency, and the effects of government economic reforms are some of the problems it is contending with.
I mean, while both countries are deeply rich in both sides, we see that both of them struggle deeply. I mean, Nigeria is blessed with oil, but we suffer in terms of, we face different challenges in terms of the management and obviously the fluctuating oil price, as well as, the corruption involved. And South Africa, on the other hand, has suffered high unemployment rates. Let's talk about something that has really escalated the rivalry: social media. Oh my goodness, I can go on and on and on and on about this. We see it in, there was a time where Chidima, the Nigerian South African girl, came to, she wanted to contest for Miss South Africa, and there was a whole uproar on social media about why she shouldn't contest because she is not South African. We also see it where even when she went to for Miss World, South Africans were still bickering. They even went to the extent of exposing her birth certificate and saying that she was not really South African and that she lied on her birth certificate and the likes. I mean, it was just a mess. Even in the viral memes and viral memes, we see it even in the football field. We can see it also in Nigerian Twitter, throwing shades at the South Africans, and we can also see it in South African TikTok showing shades at Nigerians. You can even see it in different videos on YouTube where they ask, which guys do you prefer, who do you prefer, and South Africans say, oh, you prefer Nigerian men to men. There's just so many things that I feel like is part of this rivalry, and it's just like fueling the unnecessary rivalry. There are very recent rivalry topics that has happened. The most recent one is the boat incident where South Africans ordered boats from Nigeria. Nigerians did the same. I mean, it was just back and forth, and I feel like when two elephants fight, the ground suffers. I think the big question here is, for how long are we going to sustain this animosity, right? Like I said, it's a new year. Do we still want to continue the beef? Do you still want to continue the bickering? Like I said, it's all fun and games, but at some point it jokes turn ugly, and people do not know how to stop, or do not know when to stop.
Tell us to focus on our countries. I mean, I cannot avoid this this conversation on TikTok especially, because I avoid it, but I have followers who are deeply involved in this Nigeria versus South Africa conversation, and they always ask me, Kingsley, can you imagine what this South African is saying? Can you imagine what this South African is saying? I'm like, what? Okay, what is the South African saying? And it's always something to the variation of, oh, they're telling us to focus on Nigeria, they're telling us to go back to our country, they're telling us to do this. Okay, and I always say, okay, I don't tolerate disrespect from anybody, but are the South Africans wrong to tell us to focus on our country? You know, are the South Africans wrong for telling Nigerians to focus on Nigeria? I don't think the South Africans are wrong for telling us as Nigerians, especially those of us with a mic, to focus on Nigeria. I personally don't think that's a wrong thing. I think, you know, the South Africans are well within their rights to tell us they don't need our input. They never asked for input, so we shouldn't give an input. We can make some comments here and there, but I don't think, as a Nigerian, I don't think me telling South Africans what to do is they didn't ask for it. You know, I've never been asked by a South African to tell them what to do, and I have to respect that. You know, I'm Nigerian. I am from Nigeria. Nigeria has a lot of problems by itself. You understand? So for me, that is why I tend to not understand why some Nigerians tend to get triggered when South Africans tell us, oh, focus on your country. I personally don't see that as an insult. I see it as the truth. Us Nigerians need to focus on our countries. We absolutely do. We should focus on our countries because our country has a lot of mess. Our country has a lot of issues that we need to talk about. Does that make sense? And I think that it is vital. It is vital for us to have this perspective. You know what I mean? That's a perspective we must have. I don't see it as disrespect. I do not see it as disrespect. I see it as a relevant response from South Africans telling us as Nigerians to mind our business. And if you look at Nigeria as a country, Nigeria is a country that has a lot of promise, but it's also a country that has dropped the ball on multiple fronts. Multiple fronts. And it really bothers me because how long as Nigerians are we going to keep talking about potential this, potential that? Guys, time is running out. I'm not saying one country is better than the other. Some countries have some things that they do better than others. Absolutely. Nigeria has a lot of positives. Absolutely. But Nigeria as a country also has a lot of negatives. And those negatives sometimes outshadows and outruns the positive. And we as Nigerians, especially if we've been blessed with a mic or people love to listen to us speak, we need to focus our attention there. I mean, we have politicians in Nigeria right now that are using the country as their personal bank account. They're using Nigeria as their playground, right? And us as Nigerians, if we don't focus on those critical topics instead of focusing on what South Africa is doing, what Kenya is doing, even I've seen Nigerians talking about what's happening in America. It's almost like us Nigerians, we would rather talk about what's going on miles away than speak about what's actually happening in our own country. I've seen Nigerians in Nigeria claiming to be Republicans. I have seen Nigerians in Nigeria who have never traveled out, by the way, claiming to be a Republican or a Democrat. And I'm like, there are Nigerians today with the picture of Trump in their room. It's almost as if the average Nigerian just wants to be part of somebody else's country. You have Nigerian analysts analyzing what Trump is doing. Oga, you have not analyzed your president, yet you're analyzing what somebody else's president is doing. I mean, I get it to an extent. America, whatever America does impacts the rest of the world to some extent. But let's be honest, guys. Our top priority is not Trump. Your top priority is not UK. The top priority is your leadership. Okay?
Let me give you people an exposition. Nigerians, let me give you people an exposition. In South Africa, Botswana, and some of these African countries, their wealthy men are humble, are simple, and do not resonate themselves to be wealthy. They don't victimize, they don't oppress anybody. In fact, they are circumspected, like they walk circumspectedly, which means they are careful about how they tread. They are so careful on what they say and what they do. Do you understand? Now, these wealthy men in some of these African countries, including Ghana, their intents, their struggles, and their efforts is in ways to please the people. Do you understand the situation? So they are rather trying to establish systems that will make the people, give them a break, that will make the people favor them, that will make the people, ease them off. They're looking for that favors with the people. They're looking for what they can do to get the approval of the people, to get the acknowledgement of the people, because the people are actually bigger than they are. Do you understand? These are the things that I've come to discover with all these African countries, like some of these African countries that are getting their shit together. Of course, South Africa has been enjoying their, they've been enjoying their great mindset. Botswana, a greater number of them. Do you understand? Now everyone is talking about Ghana. Now, the thing is that we already know these things, but the question is, what did Ghanaians, what did South Africans, what did Botswana people do to actually have their wealthy men think in this same manner? What did they do? What did they do? I'm pretty sure a great number of you people already know this. What did they do? It is what we call the power in isolation. The power in isolation. I've been saying these things offline and online. There is power in isolation, and that power dwells with the people. Not demonstration. Demonstration and protest would not do anything. Isolation is the most powerful tool that the people have. But it is made for people that are disciplined. People that are disciplined enough, people that are not sycophants, people that do not have long truths. And these qualities are the things that are unfortunately absent with Nigerians. Nigerians cannot discipline themselves to give isolation, to serve isolation to their wealthy men, so that their wealthy men can bend down and become simple and humble. Nigerians, learn. The problem is you. Learn. One of the ways to truly know that the Nigerian problem has nothing to do with the Nigerian president or their governors or their men in authority is that even when Nigerians are in countries that have good economy, countries that give them opportunities, they just never fail to represent themselves. You see that criminality? They can never stop it. Now it simply shows you that the men in authority, as when it concerns Nigeria, are actually people that represent the mentality of the people who are Nigerians. So there is no way you can expect the Nigerian president to become a personality with a different mentality from the way Nigerians think. What am I trying to say in essence? We all heard it on how Nigerians were busy running a kidnap activity in Ghana. Oh my God. So wait, Nigerians went to Ghana seeking for green pasture, and they just couldn't keep their criminality on the low. They even went and started escalating that criminality. They propelled that level of criminality to an uncanny standard, such that they were even committing kidnap and fraud towards white people in Ghana. You see, that's why I often tell people, there's something I want to tell African countries. Let me tell you something. Number one is that Nigerians would not give you the kind of privileges you give to them, should it that you people come to Nigeria to purport all manner of criminality, just like Nigerians do. They won't give you people such space. They might resort to murdering you people. That is why I was about the only person that saw the xenophobic activities, so-called xenophobic activities of South Africans, when they resorted to murdering Nigerians. I saw it as a holy movement. I was the only one that saw it. I was still in the university, and I think one of our professors was trying to condemn that in Nigerian peoples and culture. I was the only person that said that activity by South Africans is a holy movement. I'm telling you the truth. Because the thing is that if you don't take these things by force, if you're not firm about these things, Nigerians will ruin your countries. And because they're so frustrated from where they come from, they don't mind destroying everything they come across.
Now, thank you guys. See, it's a long one, quite lengthy, and I truly like actually what have been said here. First of all, you have seen the young man, how he is telling Nigerians, his fellow Nigerians. This was somebody who do not even want to hear or hear anything about South Africa, but today he's preaching the good news to fellow Nigerians to focus on themselves. That thing that South Africans have been saying, focus on your country, build your country, use your energy that you're using in other people's country, go back and build your country, focus on your country. We are focusing on our issues and our problems, and that's why we are getting results. Now you see the same thing alongside with the last person who actually talked about South Africans telling Nigerians as well, go and build your country, focus on your country. You see, the truth is bitter. Most times when South Africans, Kenyans, Ghanaians and other African countries tells Nigerians the truth, they find it very difficult to accept the truth. That's where the problem lies. Now back to the main focus, of which is what is the cause of the rivalry between Nigeria and South Africa based on the clip of the young lady we watched her video clip. I would say, aside everything she has cited, have been cited, guys, you watched, you paid attention, yes, I would love to hear your input. But for me, aside everything that have been mentioned here, which happened way back, even when some of us were not born, at this point we don't even have evidence, but we are judging and talking based on history. But should it be that, regardless of what had happened even before some of us came into existence, that up till date we are still going back and forth in the same rivalry, disagreement, dispute here and there between Nigeria and Ghana? Why? Now, if you ask why, I would like to tell you one simple thing. It's just straightforward, nothing but the bitter truth. The problem and the reason why Nigerians and South Africans would always go back and forth is just based on 3 points I'm going to leave us with. Not too much talking. First, abiding to laws, the rules and regulation of other people's country. That's for Nigeria. Learning to abide to laws, rules, and regulation of other people's country, particularly the subject matter here at South Africa. If you come to think of it, you will see that you will hardly find South Africans in Nigeria, right, who are lawless and not abiding to the law of Nigeria. Wherever South Africans go, one thing I have known them for sure is always abiding to the laws and the rules of every country they go. If they come to your country to establish a business, they come the right way, legally and not illegally. The MTN and some other companies we have in Nigeria today are legally well registered. You can hardly find South Africans on the streets of Nigeria trading illegally, abnormally, unusually, wrongly. You will not see South Africans come to Nigeria to invade their privacy, to tell them what to do, to tell them how to live, to do this and do that. Not even online. South Africans are always on their path and way of minding their business and building their country, which is fact. Take it from me or you leave it, is the bitter truth, right? That is one. Secondly, the pride and arrogance in Nigerians, not just South Africans complaining. I've got Kenyans, I've got Ghanaians, I've got Cameroonians, so many countries complaining. Nigerians, not all though, not all. There are rooms for exception. Don't get it twisted. They are so arrogant, they are so full of themselves, disrespectful. In fact, they are so insulting and abusive. Like, if you hear a Nigerian make noise, like, you heard him what he said, that is a typical characteristics of Nigerian. Always trying to seek of how to bring down other people to make themselves feel better. The pride, the arrogance in some or most Nigerians is out of this world. Like, you begin to wonder, what exactly are these people priding themselves for that others don't have? Even in South Africa, in Ghana and other countries, you see what they have that are even way and far better than what we even have in Nigeria. Apart from criminality, robbery, the fraud, robbing people of their hard-earned money and valuables. What's more, do most of these people have to pride themselves with? Because at the end of the day, you will still find countries like South Africa, Ghana, and other countries, working hard, legally, the right way, legitimately to earn a living, and you will not see them, carry their shoulder up, no matter what they have. If you know what some people have achieved as South Africans, okay, as Ghanaians and other nationals, Nigerians would not even open their mouth to boast, because that pride and arrogance is not sitting well with even me as a Nigerian. Talk more of other country citizens. So I wonder how most people will cope. And you go into their country and begin to make people feel less of themselves, inferior. It will not work, and that is one of the reasons why there will always be rivalry and conflict. This power tussle for superiority. I am the superior, comparing each other like I'm bigger than you, our government is bigger, and Nigeria will always say our country is bigger, we have this, we have that. Arrant nonsense, for crying out loud. Because at this point, I want it to sink into the head of everyone, Nigerian, non-Nigerian, that no country is perfect, no country is better off. But if you want to place it hand in hand, there are countries that have achieved a lot, like South Africa and the rest of them, but you will not hear them make noise. But yeah, they still have their challenges, their issues that they are trying to sort out every single day. Problems of life are endless. Government, societal problems are endless, for crying out loud. So it's high time, Nigerians, as we have heard, go back to the drawing book, go back home, focus on our problems, hold our leaders accountable. You heard the young man who said so. Chimdi has said so. So many people are talking now. I'm happy that eyes are opened, and people, Nigerians, are beginning to self-reflect on themselves and see that, oh, this thing that we are dragging South Africa, dragging other countries online, offline, bantering, priding ourselves in arrogance and all whatnot, it's not going to help us last. So we are reflecting and judging other countries. Meanwhile, our own problem is overwhelming. Like, it is killing us by the day, eating us deep, like big wounds on our body. I'm happy that yes, it has gotten to this point that Nigerians are beginning to self-reflect, look inwardly, Not all though, but we will continue to preach this good news. We will continue to hammer on it. I will continue to hit on it. Hold us accountable until the change we are looking for will come out. A lot of things have been said, guys, that I cannot even go in details. And if you look at another aspect of it, is the media always trying to set up unnecessary room for competition. You know, media is like national televisions, international televisions. I don't get it. I don't get it. For the sake of the fact that news informations are supposed to be spread out from this media, why always comparing and making it look as if we are competing? For God's sake, we're not supposed to be competing, because even twins that are born on the same day, right, do not have the same destiny. They do not have the same purpose. They do not have the same calling on earth. They will always be different, just like we are different. Even though we share similarities as countries in Africa, there are always room for differences. Our different goals, our different purpose, our different dream and calling on earth as individuals, as citizens, as countries. So let that sink. Let that sink. The earlier we begin to understand this, the media begin to put things rightly, it will help this whole thing. Because at the end of the day, you see, if we don't manage situations like this, issues like this, rivalries like this, misunderstanding and disagreement like this, it will always cause rancor. It will lead to situations where we have had in the past that at the end of the day, most of us will not find it for it. And that's why, as the mouthpiece of Africa, you're one and only Tando, I will always, time to time, relentlessly, by the special grace of God, which I believe is the only strength I have, because it's draining, guys, always come out here to say it the way it is, to address things the way it is, to put issues, situations, and people in the right path and in the right way, not to demote, not to demean, ridicule anyone, any country, but saying it. So if Nigerians are misbehaving, I have the right to tell them, or tell us, no, we don't have to do it this way. South Africans have, on their own part, every right to hold themselves accountable, which I have seen times without number, countlessly, that they are doing, and I respect that. I respect them. I respect every other country, Kenyan, I respect every country in this continent of Africa, because at the end of the day, it is left for us to hold ourselves accountable, who go back to the drawing board, hold our leaders, hold those in positions, in key power, that are contributing to the problems and the reason why the countries in Africa is not working effectively. The loopholes and every back and forth is not really giving what is supposed to be given. Until then, when we have achieved our aim, our goal, that is when we can say, yes, at the end of the day, we are ready. We are ready. So that is it for today. I know a lot has been said, even my brother Chimdi and the rest of others. What do you think, guys? If you paid attention at this point, I want to say thank you for watching till this moment. Like I said, hit on the like button, share, subscribe, and don't make this your last, because you can't get it as a dull moment on here, I tell you. Okay, until then, keeping it real, happy, safe, and blessed, and I will see you in my next one. Ciao ciao.